Well, people swallow
I
worms.
never ate much, but I know that
I didn't have worms.
well, maybe little girls don't eat as much mud as boys, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, this is what we're dealing with. So, how do you make sense of sort of the players, the big players in this sort of scenario? And now, obviously, you're living in America, but you certainly have more of an insider view of what goes on in Britain, right? Just than your average person. So, as you may know, the whole stepping back off the mandates, off the masks, off everything right now. How far that's going to trickle down, I'm still waiting to see if it's even going to make it to changing the way they treat you when you try to travel anywhere. Because we haven't heard a word about that, by the way. But
no, absolutely.
So what are your thoughts about this latest move by Britain to back off everything?
My feeling is, looking at it, I think it's blown out. I think everyone's had enough of this.
I wonder if you think that metal detox helps at all.
It's interesting, and the answer is it doesn't, and I'll tell you why. Because it actually grows. The problem is with these particles is they're not just like heavy metal. All sorts of stuff bound to them, and beryllia and bacterial stuff. And they grow in you, so they actually integrate in the body, so they're becoming part of the body, so they won't leave because obviously the tissue's grown within them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I was astounded when I first found out, Kerry, about this stuff, and I phoned Hildy up and said, I'm kind of blown away, like overwhelmed with it. Not the fact that what the stuff is, but the fact that someone could ever create this stuff and put it in someone's body, because, if you've ever met people with Morgellons, it's a horrific disease, So it's it's what it is, but it grows in the body. So would it help? The problem with detoxes is that because this is off-planet technology, it's coming from the Greys. It's come from a different planet, especially the black goo, the nanites and all that sort of thing. This is all part of the Morgellons. It's 10 to the -9 small, and they've taught them how to produce the stuff. Because it's off-planet technology. When they create a planet, of course, they've got all the herbs and things to take care of all the bacteria and everything else on it. And so you've got natural, you can help yourself naturally. But when you bring another planet stuff down here, you don't. And so that's one of the problems with Morgellons. And it's like Lyme disease, that's manufactured as well. So is HIV, and so is Agent Orange. They're almost all the same spirochete. But what's interesting about them, people... Again, they make a mistake. They give them normal energy. Well, this stuff creates such huge die-off that they get so sick from either normal energy or herbs, things like garlic or aloe. They get so sick, but because they're exponentially replicating, it doesn't kill them off fast enough to actually make a difference. So all you're doing really is making yourself sick. And I've seen it. People, have been really sick by trying to take herbs and all these things when it doesn't work. So.
Well, so what would you suggest if because there are a lot of people out there recommending now, especially, various metal detoxes and so on, thinking logically, I understand that, but what you're saying is kind of interesting, and how these things get sort of incorporated into the body. I think a lot of people don't quite grasp that. They don't realize. I don't know if I've ever discussed this person with you, but Dr. David Adair is a scientist in the United States, and he's worked in what we call black projects and with AI for his whole life. He was spotted when he was 17 and brought into Area 51 to activate a UFO they'd found that they couldn't get to turn back on. And all he did was, as a kid, is put his hands on it. And ever since then, he's been in touch with a certain AI. It's off-planet AI, obviously. So on top of it, he's created his own AI, and they brought him in to talk to this AI in Saudi Arabia, the one that was given citizenship, called Sophia. I don't know if you follow all this. So
yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. So my question, though, is having to do with, what he said is that, in essence, these sort of nanobots, the graphene and the spike proteins, go in and restructure the cells themselves. And so, in a sense, they're the building blocks. And then he said AI is going to come in and basically then be sort of the director of that body once it's more or less taken over.